What's up guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this super cool wooden American flag cross with your scrap wood. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that we're going to do, I just got a bunch of scrap wood here and we're going to cut 9 pieces of 1.5" stuff at 3 1/4. And remember that you can always rip some of this wider stuff down to 1.5" if you need to. Alright, so now that we got our pieces cut, I'm actually not going to be using these top 3 pieces. We're going to have 6 of these 1.5" pieces on the bottom, and then since this top piece will be union, and then I'm just going to use some of my wider stuff to cut a piece for the top instead of using these 3 smaller pieces. And that piece will be 4.5 by 3 1/4. And then I'm going to take another piece of this wider stuff and cut for the left side of my cross, and this will be 7 1/4 by 3 inches. And we're going to run it so that it lines up with the right side of these stripes. And then for the right side, we're going to cut 2 pieces of 1.5" at 4 inches. And if you don't have any of this wider stuff, you can use these top 3 pieces, and instead of using a wider piece, you can just cut 2 pieces of 1.5" that are 11 1/4 long. That way you'll get the same measurements. You'll just have smaller pieces instead of having some of these bigger pieces. But since I got these bigger pieces, I'm just going to go ahead and use these. So I'm going to go ahead and get those cut down. Alright, so I got all of my pieces cut here. The last pieces that we're going to need to cut, this one I didn't really cut to size, it's just going to work. I'm going to have this one run up the back, and I have it coming down onto this one enough and up onto this one enough to where I can secure everything together up and down. And then for these sides, I'm just going to take one of my 3 1/4 pieces, and this will go on the back like that to secure these 2 side pieces to the rest of it. And then I'm going to put another one on this side just to kind of even it out. So that is how this one is also a 3 1/4. So that's how I'm going to secure the back of this. If you did do your 1.5" pieces running all the way across, you wouldn't really need any side pieces, but you could put them on there still if you'd like to. It'll also work good for a hanger to go on the back. So we got those pieces cut, but we can set those aside for right now. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to sand over any of these faces that are a little rougher. I actually did kind of sand over the boards before I started cutting just to make it easier. And then I'm also going to add just a slight rounded edge. I think that will make it look a little cleaner. I'm just going to do that with just sandpaper or my orbital. So I'm going to go ahead and get these sanded over, and then once we're done sanding, then we can torch them. Alright, so I got those all sanded, and I don't know if you can tell, but they got a nice little rounded edge to them. I think it just helps then, like without it, if they don't line up perfectly, then I feel like you notice it more. But when they got that little bit of rounded edge to them, if there's just kind of helps to have a little transition between each piece. And then if it's not perfect, I think it helps it look a lot better. But obviously that's just a personal preference, so if you would prefer them all without the rounded edge, then obviously that's perfectly fine as well. Next up, we're going to go ahead and torch them. So I just got my torch here, and I just like to try and torch them around the edges, and it just helps to kind of make the grain pop out a little bit more and give it kind of a cool look. And then while I'm doing this, I'm also going to torch my backer pieces, and then that way, just since it's such a small piece that's going to be on the wall, you're probably going to be able to see your backer pieces if you're to the side. So I'm just going to put a nice torch on these, that way if you can see them behind it, then they don't just look like they don't match anything. So I'll go ahead and torch those as well. These pieces are going to be a little bit harder to torch than the regular pieces, but okay, I went ahead and nailed together a little stand to put my blocks on, so I don't have to try and hold them. And then I'll also make sure I torch the left and the right side. So I'll just go ahead and do something kind of like that. And obviously you can go as dark or as light as you want to. This one's going to be on the bottom, so I'm going to torch the bottom as well. Alright, so I got everything torched. Next thing we're going to do is stain them. So I got some Minwax water-based wood stain tinted in crimson for my red. And then I got some Minwax water-based wood stain tinted in denim blue. These are the solid color stain with the clear tint base. And then I got some of this Varathan water-based wood stain tinted in white. And usually I do about 2 to 3 coats depending on how the color's showing up. And then I'll make sure I stain the sides as well. And then like on these ones, I'll stain the bottom and the sides. Just get all the sides stained. And I'll just be using a rag to stain. So we can go ahead and get these stained up. Alright, so I gave these some time to dry, and now I'm going to go ahead and get everything flipped over so that we can nail it together. And then when you get to this spot, you want to make sure you put these ones on the left side, get this one on the right side so that when you flip it back over, it lines up. And then I got a 18 gauge brad nailer with some 1 1/4" nails in it, and that is what I'll be using to get this thing put together. Use my square here to help me get these nice and square. Alright, so we'll go something like that. Before I nail these, I'm going to go ahead and lay a bead of glue down, and then I'm not going to like clamp everything together. I'm just going to try and make sure everything looks tight before I nail it. Then I'm going to try and even out that spacing. If my piece is a little bit longer, I could run it up onto this top piece a little bit further, but I'm going to try and center it on this top piece and on this bottom piece. Then we can go ahead and get some nails put in it. I went ahead and did 2 nails per these small ones, and then I did 4 in this guy and then 4 in that top one, just to give that one some extra support. Now you can do this side. Once again, I'm going to try and square it off as best I can before I put any nails in it, and then just make sure that it's pushed tight up against. And then we got the last side. Like I said before, this one's not super necessary, but I'm just going to put it on there anyways. Alright, while we got this thing flipped over, I'm going to throw my hanger on the back. Just going to use one of these large sawtooth hangers, center it right in the middle, and you can use any picture style hanger that you want to. Go ahead and pre-drill those so they don't split the wood. Just like that. Get this thing flipped back over. That's what the front of this thing looks like. So now the last thing that we have to do is the stars. So what I'm going to do, I just have these pre-cut stars. You can carve your stars, paint your stars, but I'm just going to be using, these are just 1-inch pre-cut stars you can order on Amazon. I can link them in the description. And I'm just going to put 3 across this bottom here, just centered. And then I'm going to do 2 that are centered going up, centered on this upper board. And then what I'll do is just put a small dot of glue on the back of them. And then I got one of these micro nailers. You don't have to nail it, but I kind of like to nail them just so that it like holds them in place so that the glue can set up, and then the glue should really help to hold them. Just got to be careful not to put too much glue, otherwise it's going to push out the sides. So I actually do have some of this clear glue, so I'm going to use this instead. The stuff works a lot better, and then if it comes out the sides you don't really see it. Alright, so then your stars will end up looking something like that. If you decide to paint them or carve them, obviously you could just take a stencil and then lay it down and mark them out, or use it to spray but I just think this way is quick and simple and it looks nice and clean. And now the last thing that we have to do is just go ahead and seal this thing up, and I'll just be using some of this satin clear enamel. I actually ran out of satin, so I'm going to use this gloss clear instead. Alright, so that is what it looks like all finished up. I think it's a pretty cool little piece, and I think it's a great way to use up scrap wood. Got a lot of these little short pieces that you can use up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. I'd love to hear. If you guys have any other scrap video ideas, I would love to hear those also. I'll go ahead and link everything that I used down in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please drop a like and subscribe for more. That would help me out. And thank you everybody so much for watching.